Friday night down at the Legion Bar. Bill opened up a box of old cigars. Said on this day back in '69, I lost the best friend of mine. Kinda said that's the place I've been, but it was 2010 Afghanistan. He raised his glass, said here's to friends and their ultimate sacrifice. Yeah, the times and places, they may change, but one thing stays the same. The stories that they tell about going through hell. If you think they wouldn't do it all over again, well, you just don't know them. The memories that they own of the ones who didn't make it home, yeah, they sure do miss them, but they keep them all living in the stories that they tell. Bartender says next round for me. I spent some time overseas. Tonight's my first night behind this bar. Bill handed him a cigar. Well, the faces and the pictures, they may change, but one thing stays the same. The stories that they tell about going through hell. If you think they wouldn't do it all over again, well, you just don't know them. The memories that they own of the ones who didn't make it home, yeah, sure do miss them, but they keep them all living in the stories that they tell. Yeah, some will laugh and some will cry. Sometimes they'll wonder why. And I've been there, so I wrote this song. I know the need to carry on. The stories that they tell about going through hell. If you think they wouldn't do it all over again, well, you just don't know them. The memories that they are the ones who didn't make it home. Yeah, they sure do miss them, but they keep them all living in the stories that they tell. We sure do miss them, but we keep them all living in the stories that we tell.
What's up, guys? Max here, back with a brand new episode of the Scuttlebutt Show. And as you can see, I'm joined today by two very special guests. You know Rob Sweetman, and then we have TJ with us today. And we are going to talk all about Rob, Exist Tribe, and we're going to premiere the documentary film 62 Romeo that they've been working on. Very excited for this. It's going to be a super fun episode. I just want to thank you guys all for being here today. And what you just heard was Scotty Hastings, if you remember him, Army veteran, wounded warrior, archery coach, and his brand new song that you can go stream right now. Just look up Scotty Hastings, the stories that they tell, and you can go find that. Rob, TJ, how are you guys doing?
Great.
Feeling good. Max, wanted to say congrats on 4 years of the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's the Scuttlebutt Show's 4-year anniversary. I want to say what's up to everybody listening on the podcast, everybody in the chat. The regular crew is all here, and a bunch of new guests as well. Happy Veterans Day. Today is, being Veterans Day, thank you everyone for joining us. It's going to be fantastic. I know you're taking time out of your holiday as well to come be here with us and celebrate this great accomplishment that we're going to be sharing with you in the form of this film. And I just want to say this one little thing before we get started. Thank you to the veteran community and all the great guests and members of this channel who have made my dream of creating this show possible and into a real reality of us doing this here 5 days a week. I love doing this show. I love spending time with you. I hope you're getting something out of it. I get a lot out of it, and I'm doing my best to provide the best content for you guys. So just a true thank you to the veterans out there and all my friends, especially the people who've given their time and energy back to me in the form of being guests on the show, being part of the program, engaging in the chat. I hope for all the vets out there and veteran family members and all that, I hope today is a very special day for you and the whole holiday weekend as well. And then, Rob, why don't you introduce us and introduce TJ? And then, TJ, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and who you are and what brought us all together today.
Yeah, so I'm Robert Sweetman. Max and I have been friends for many years, did a deployment together in Iraq back in the day. And actually, I started this company like 4 years ago, about the same time that you started your radio show. I remember visiting you in the hood doing the audio only radio show. And that was awesome. And so we've had this 4 years to kind of think about like, how am I going to solve this sleep problem? So, backing it up a little bit, I experienced extreme sleep deprivation in the military. Any of the vets out there, you know what I'm talking about. And then I sort of transformed my challenge, my struggles with that, along with a major loss that I took, into this initiative, this desire to sort of help out people with sleep. And, you go to the VA, they don't have any solutions. They throw pills at you. They talk about sleep hygiene. What is that? So over the last 4 years, I've just been obsessed with solving the problem of sleep deprivation and sleep problems, specifically with the veteran community. And it's my passion. And so, fast forward, we've been through so many trials and tribulations, so many failures, and I just keep getting back up and charging at the problem, not knowing for sure tomorrow if we're going to be able to make any progress. And then this summer, I was able to meet with TJ. I got lucky through, a mutual friend. I was introduced. And what I pitched to TJ was this idea that I'm going to be, corralling some veterans. We want to try this technology we've been working on for so long. We also have this 6-week program. We kind of wrap the whole thing in, which we're very hopeful for. And we wanted to try it out. And so we wanted to try, we call it the 62 R or 62 Romeo, 62R. So this program, what we wanted to do was put these veterans through the program and measure their sleep with a very sensitive sleep measurement device, something that you can't trick or cheat or anything. It's just randomly measuring all of your data. So we wanted to see if we could improve their sleep from start to finish. Can we improve their sleep? And some of these people have terrible sleep. Some of these people have had terrible sleep from a 30-year career where they just don't know where to turn for answers. And I got to tell you, pills aren't the answer. So I pitched TJ on this idea, and he has way better things to do. He's a very renowned director. I found out he was Emmy nominated. He's won 3 Webbies. He's done all of this stuff. I'm watching his work and I'm blown away. How can I get this guy to come to our team and help us with this? And I just told him my story. I told him about Ryan Larkin, which we've talked about in previous shows. I kind of like conveyed some of the passion that I have for this. And the rest is history. He decided to come on the team, and I'm so fortunate to have you with us, TJ. So I hope that's a good introduction.
So it's a beautiful introduction, Rob. Thanks, man. I really appreciate the kind words. I think the timing for this documentary that I'm super excited for everyone to watch together. The timing for it was so kind of perfect for me in terms of where I was, prior to COVID. I'm sure everyone has their own story about how COVID sort of maybe steered their life in an unexpected direction. But prior to COVID, my main focus was in the narrative film space and specifically in comedy. So the idea of me being here, maybe 2 years ago would seem so unlikely because, it was, scripted projects, actors, sets, building sets, having, nationally broadcast commercials and things like that. And, the impact of COVID on my life was really kind of taking a step back, the scope of my, film career, and really wanting to put my energy towards projects that really made a difference, as opposed to, we all like to laugh. Comedy is important in some ways, but there's nothing like teaming up with someone like Rob, who is extremely passionate, and his team, and then trying to find a way to tell that story in a way that's going to have a tangible benefit on people's lives and on their mental health. And the more that I spoke to Rob, the more I learned. Rob recommended books, and I read almost all of them that I bought, and conducted all these interviews, some of which you'll see. Just kind of got a crash course in sleep science and a crash course in just some of the issues that the veteran community is facing, and then try to find a way to express that in a way that people would connect with. And so to me, I found this extremely rewarding, more so than just about anything else I've done. And the funny thing about it is, as you'll see, everything that you're about to see was shot on an iPhone 12. And it was done completely remote, not on this one. I didn't use mine, other ones. And it was shot totally remotely, not unlike how we're talking here. So it was a way to use the most kind of cutting edge way to make a documentary, and to apply everything I learned on big sets, big cameras, 40-person crew, $80,000 lenses, all that stuff that I've learned over the years. How can I make something even more meaningful with this? So that's what was so exciting to me, is getting to sort of have a new filmmaking experience, and to learn about something that is so important, and to be talking here on Veterans Day. And I do want to make sure that I say to both Max and Rob, thank you for your service, and to everyone who's here listening, thank you for everything that you've done, the sacrifices that you've made. As someone who's not a part of the veteran community, you sort of hear about things, you see things depicted on screen, but it's not until you actually really have a one-on-one, 2-hour chat like I've had with everyone in the documentary, do you sort of start to get even a little fraction of an idea of what those experiences were like. And so I hope that I've been able to kind of get that across in some way, because what everyone here has done is profound.
Thank you for being a part of it. You said a couple things about talking to people and reading books. I remember when you said about reading the books that Rob recommended. I have these, it's interesting as we get ready to premiere this documentary. Rob, maybe this is difficult for you, and it's certainly difficult for me, but sometimes what I'm about to say, it hits me like a truck. And then TJ, maybe you can tell me if this moment ever happened to you. Because we came from NSW, what you're going to see in this documentary, the people featured in it, these are the people that books are written about. When you hear about Navy SEALs, these are the people, and special operations, these are the people that they're talking about, are the people that we get lucky enough to find ourselves in the same room with or having a conversation with. And sometimes, I'm wearing the shirt today from the Honor Foundation, and I just want to give a big shout out to the Honor Foundation for creating a great program for transitioning veterans. And you look around and you go, how am I in this room? Look at these people that I'm having this conversation with. It's really incredible. TJ, did you ever have these moments where you're like, you see, like you were saying, you see it on TV, you read it in books, and then you go, well, this is the guy right here. This is the person that they're talking about. Did you have a moment like that?
It was a constant barrage of those moments during the interviews, but especially setting the interviews up, because as Rob will attest, the way that I've done prior to this project, maybe 140 or 150 of these kinds of remote interviews, where my technique is I will ship an iPhone 12 to the interview subject, or 2 iPhone 12s at times, with little tripods and lights and a microphone that looks like this. And I'll ship it in a FedEx box that weighs 14 pounds, and the person will get the box, open it, and I will walk through, holding their hand, how to set everything up to my liking, because there's certain ways I like things to be shot, So working with like one of the people you'll see in the documentary, Jason Tushin, 27-year career, Navy SEAL, Master Chief. And we're talking over Zoom. He is setting up the equipment I sent him. And he has 2 cameras. He only has 1 tripod because I only had so many. So he had to improvise a tripod for his phone. And so I'm firsthand watching a 27-year career Navy SEAL Master Chief MacGyver things from around his room, take a box of knives, other individual knives. He's cutting up a cardboard box, and he builds in a matter of like 2 minutes a tripod to get one of the shots. And because we've talked before, I know what the overview of the scope of his experience, to think, this guy with all he's experienced is building a tripod out of a cardboard box for me. How great is that? I was just so thankful that everyone did it. But the reason they all did it was because they all respect what Rob's doing. So it's a testament to him, ultimately, that everyone stooped down to the lowest levels of the chain of command to help out Rob.
What do you think about that, Rob?
I love it. I mean, I love it. I think I'm so bashful when people say that, oh, they believe in me, or, but I think we have this common problem because we have, within this documentary, we had people at more of a lower rank, and then folks that were all the way at the highest ranks. And so, these people had different experiences completely, but they're all military, but we're coming to the table with a similar problem. We have a common problem, and that's sleep. And the secret that, has really been difficult for the organizations like the VA to talk about, and they do their best, but is that with sleep, when sleep gets worse, it impacts your mental health. And so we have this suicide problem that I've experienced firsthand, my friends, right? And everybody in the military knows the story, right? They lost somebody. And so how did we get there? And of course, there's PTSD, PTS, there's all types of stress, traumatic brain injury. There's a number of different potential comorbidities that lead up to suicidality, right? But for me, the focus is on sleep and mental health. And, if Dr. Mishra from past interviews was here with us today, he would tell you that with his patients, it doesn't matter what medicine he prescribes in his clinic. If the sleep doesn't get better, the mental health does not get better. But if the sleep health does get better, almost all the time, with a certain few exceptions, the mental health is going to get better. And so I kind of clung on to that idea, and I thought, we have all these suicides, increasing rates of suicides, and it's terrible. And then we have all of this insomnia and this sleep deprivation. You can see some of the numbers at the VA. It's terrible. And if you ask, 2 years ago, we were doing surveys with Navy SEALs, and I won't name any names, but the results were like 98% of them were sleep deprived after service. And so this doesn't end when you put up your uniform. And so what we see is this circadian scarring, where this behavioral pattern within our brain and within our body just continues and continues. And what's the solution, right? You get a printout from the VA that says, hey, here's sleep hygiene. And they're doing their best job, but nobody understands that. And so the next thing they turn to is sleeping pills. And sleeping pills don't work. There's a little bit about that could work in certain situations on a short term. But when you look at the studies, the pharmaceutical companies skew these studies to make them look so amazing, but you're getting the same effect from a placebo, right? And so what that means is the belief that the pill will help you sleep is more important than the chemical structure of the pill. And we don't even want to talk about the negative side effects of the pills, especially like barbiturates and stuff like that. And when you can't get pills, then people are turning to things like NyQuil or alcohol. We've all seen it, right? So what I wanted to do was create something that was natural, something that healed us from within. And it has been a long road, full of failures, full of just falling on my face. And so to get to this point with, we got a team of like 15 people, to get to this point with everyone's help to where we have this program, it's super easy. We can do everything virtually. We just ship out, the rest node to somebody's house. where we're combining, this light and sound therapy with a little bit of behavioral modification. For all the clinicians out there, we're kind of using the science behind cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. We have this incredibly powerful thing, but still, I'm nervous. How is the study going to turn out? Am I going to fail again? We don't know. And the whole time, TJ's filming me, and I'm like, I hope this thing works out. And I'm watching the testimonials, and I'm watching the responses, and I'm seeing people say, this is changing my life. This is changing my relationships at home. I feel better, not just mentally, but physically across the board. I'm like, well, okay, I believe you, but let's look at the data. And then when I got the data, I was just absolutely blown away. And you guys will see that in the documentary, that we have something here. There's nothing else like this that I'm aware of in the world. Nobody else is doing this. They're not combining the most successful treatment, which is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, with a light and sound modality, with this type of program. People are trying, the VA has a program where you have an app and you go on there and you do the CBTI, and it's like, okay, great. This has the potential to change the face of sleep deprivation and potentially suicidality across the veteran community, period. And we just need to get in with the VA. We need to get in with these organizations and get this widespread, because this is our chance to make a difference. We're here, finally.
I got to call you out on one thing, though, really quick.
Okay.
You can't be bashful wearing that shirt. You can, if you're listening on the podcast, Rob's wearing a shirt covered in American flags, and it's amazing.
That's right.
Your passion in this journey has been undeniable, and it's really great that we could come together on Veterans Day to premiere this film. It's an emotional moment. This is the 4-year anniversary of me doing the Scuttlebutt show. You were like the second person ever on my show in San Diego, and I've seen you present to an audience with your sleep pod. I've seen you, go through so many changes and evolutions and grow your team. And there were times where I didn't even understand what it was that you were doing. And I'm like, you have employees now, you have a team. Like, how does this all work? And I just think it's important that people know, and you kind of just hit on it right there, talking about failures and falling flat on your face, that getting to where we are today and getting ready to see the film, it's you've invested so much of yourself into this. You got out of the military, which is incredible. That's a massive move, just for starters, just to get out of the military. A humongous decision to make. You educated yourself. You work tirelessly while taking care of your family. You have invested in yourself financially at incredible risk to yourself. And you did all this because you're motivated by a righteous and good cause. And I mean, it just doesn't get better than that. I'm just so proud of you. It's an honor to know you. And this whole thing has been, there are times where I've thought about you and I'm just like, I hope Rob's all right now. I hope things are going good. This is just such a huge thing to start a business, to invent a product, to market, to design. So, I mean, every step of this, modeling, CAD, drawings, everything, it's so massive. I wonder if people, when they watch our episodes together, even understand the scope of this whole thing. And I want to make sure today that people really do understand how hard you've worked. And, you're the veteran that I want to honor today. Like, can you, what do you, like, I mean, how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like people can grasp what it is that you've done here? Or do you think it's like, it's not even understandable, the scope of it?
It's hard to take in. And, the motivation comes from losing Ryan Larkin and then unpacking this whole thing and talking with people and learning their experiences, losing friends or people that you watch go down this road with this cycle of using alcohol to go to sleep because they're strung out throughout the day with anxiety or stress or whatever, and then not getting the sleep that they need, and then waking up with monsters and ripping on deployments. And it's just a terrible cycle. And then you watch this happen over years, and they get to this point where they're not doing well. They're not doing well at all. And then the result could end up being something like they take their life, or, they're living a terrible life with their family, or they're losing their job, or some people even go homeless. So for me, there's a ton of passion to solve this. I guess you can say I grew up as a man in the military and kind of proved myself. It's like, okay, I got rid of the ego, right? And so now here in this chapter of my life, all I want to do is give back. That's it. I just want to give back. And we have to keep the lights on. We have to make this a functioning business so that we can continue to grow and thrive. But with that said, we always want to keep that social impact bottom line. We always want to focus on, are we doing the right thing by the people that need us? So, here we are 4 years later, and it's just been, it's been like buds for 4 years. I say that lightly because buds is really difficult, but it's just been a ton of failure and failure. We've let the science guide our hand. If we can say that, this artistic hand of designing and building something that could work, using the science to build it, this thing is homegrown and fully custom designed by exactly what the academic literature is telling us. And so we built this thing, we built this program with all of that in mind, but still I'm not sure. We haven't proven it. We haven't tested it. And so a part of me kind of still accepted failure, that we're just gonna keep beating our heads against the wall. And then I feel like, if you guys remember Back to the Future with Doc, he's like, I finally made an invention that works. That's exactly what happened, because we did this whole 6-week program, and I'm holding my breath for 6 weeks, going through the motions, all of the dry runs that we did, we're delivering this. And then to see the data, to see the results afterwards be positive and quite frankly, groundbreaking. We need to do more studies. We need to refine the studies. We need to have control groups. We need to get IRB approval and all that stuff. But the data speaks for itself. This is objective and subjective data that are telling the same story, that there's a huge difference. This is life-changing. This could save lives. So I couldn't be happier at this point. I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome.
That is something that might be just kind of useful to underline, but before we all watch this documentary, is that this is essentially the story of the first time that people have really, this is like the rubbers meeting the road for the first time for the rest node and for the 6-2R. So Rob's been talking today about like this kind of 4-year journey that brought him to this point, but this is this is 4 years worth of, okay, well, eventually we're going to get to the point where we're going to see if it works. So when I started working on this documentary, and when you'll see the interviews with the subjects prior to the study, none of us know what the outcome is going to be. Rob doesn't know what the outcome is going to be. When you see Rob being interviewed in the piece, he does not know what the outcome will be of the study. So this is truly, as Rob I think is saying, this is truly a moment of kind of having faith in yourself, or having faith in general, that all this work, all this research, the support of this community is going to lead to something. And so I think that's why Rob is speaking about the data. So kind of think about that when you see the data presented in the film, and you see the people talking about their experiences with the rest node and the 6-2R. This is it's like making that kind of half-court shot and being like, holy cow, I made the shot.
TJ,
exactly right.
TJ, thank you. Really quick, TJ, did you have any idea? And we're gonna in just a couple minutes, we're gonna watch the film. TJ, what did you know about this insane veteran lifestyle before getting involved in this? What was your prior experience working with vets?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really no, I'll just be honest. I really had no prior experience working with vets. I think my prior experience came from just, watching movies, watching TV, watching, Band of Brothers, or, Full Metal Jacket, or, the sort of classic films. But always knowing that like these things are fiction, they don't represent the real experience. And I think part of the reason that they don't is there are these moments of, I don't want to say the mundane, but it's kind of like the everyday, the moments of the everyday, the moment, and it's kind of like the moments of like the tossing and turning in bed, or the moments of the sort of like between the major events that you'd never really see depicted on screen. the fatigue or the frustration or the confusion or and I think those are things that I haven't seen put on screen. And I sort of had a sense that I knew I was missing a humongous part of the picture. So like whenever I start a project where I don't know anything firsthand, it's up to me just to listen. So before I recorded anything with everybody who was in the film, I did like a 2-hour interview with everybody that wasn't recorded, where I just asked a bunch of questions and listened. And I asked everyone, what should I read? And so everyone recommended, Roy Love, for example, recommended that I read like a memoir that he wrote about his entire career. And so, that was beautiful because I got to read 20 or 30 pages of his, from enlisting to, kind of rising up the chain of command in the Navy to become a captain. I just try to become a sponge and try to learn and be really, really open and let people just speak to me. And that's how I'll try to get some sort of firm ground so I can ask smarter questions and be able to connect. But like I said earlier, there's no way that I could actually have that experience. That's an experience I don't have. And so I come to every conversation very honestly. I don't have that experience, but I can listen and I can try to present it to other people who maybe haven't had that experience. And then that's how you kind of build an empathetic connection, I hope.
I think that's a great way to do it. That sounds like a great way to do it. Listening.
Someone in the chat has a username Harry Lime. I want to give that person a shout out because that is a great username. Yes,
he's a great supporter of the channel. That's a great shout out. That's a great shout out to give.
I wonder if that's this person's real name or if it's a reference to one of my favorite films of all time.
It probably is the latter, I think.
Third Man. Orson Welles' character.
So Rob, we're at that time. I think we're about, at the point where we should probably show this thing. Would you like to introduce it? Would you like to say a few words before I set it up?
I can't think of anything. I think the documentary speaks for itself. I just am blown away at what came out of it. Not knowing TJ, not knowing how to do any film, really just not knowing anything about this world, and just kind of doing my thing. And hopefully the camera doesn't delete the file or whatever. So looking at it, I'm seeing it, just recently in the last 24, 48 hours. I think it's really good. So I'll let the audience make their own decision, and I'll be in the chat. So
okay. So we're going to watch the film. I'm going to set it up. It's going to take me about 30 seconds to do so. So bear with me while we go to our intermission screen here. And gentlemen, if you could please mute your mics. The next thing that you guys see on your screen for the audience is going to be the film. If you're listening on the podcast, this episode will remain on YouTube. You can always come find it. It is episode 266. And this is going to be amazing. So just bear with me for one moment and we'll be right back.
Thanks for watching.
I remember sitting in Iraq. I had the top bunk in this old Mason building, and I just remember every single night before I went to bed, because we had mortars coming overhead from ISIS, I just thought a rocket was going to come right through the mortar and hit directly on top of me. I would toss and turn in bed, and sometimes I wouldn't get to sleep on time, and then I wouldn't get enough sleep, and I'd feel like crap the next day, and then it's like, this is life in the military. I experienced extreme sleep deprivation in the military. As you start to, become sleep deprived, your sense of sanity pulls away from you. It's just frustrating. And with Ryan, after he passed, I was depressed for a while. And I thought to myself, this is bullshit. Like, we have to do something about this. Nobody cares about the average person in the military or their sleep. I have to be the one. I'm the one being called to action here.
At boot camp, that's when sleep deprivation started.
Hell Week is 5.5 days on with only 4 hours sleep cumulative, and you perform.
And I noticed the effects of not getting a full night's sleep pretty early on as we were doing workouts at 4 o'clock in the morning.
So in 2005, I was deployed to Iraq as the senior enlisted advisor for an 80-person task unit. If I was lucky, I would get to bed mid-morning and then start it all over again 3 to 4 hours later. Almost always 6 or 7 days a week. Mentally, my fuse got really, really short. It was pretty easy to set me off. And so, broke more than a few phones, screaming at people.
A lot of the mistakes that we made in the middle of the night were due to lack of rest, lack of proper rest. And there's a significant toll in their reaction times, in their ability to respond to events, and their recollection of events.
There's a mindset that we've all kind of got instilled in us that, okay, I can do without sleep if I'm moving and focused on the task at hand. And I know I can power through it because I've made it through Hell Week.
Yeah, I wasn't going to tell the captain I was too tired to stand watch. I was going to throw water in my face, drink as much coffee as possible, and stand the watch.
Within the aviation community, so many mishaps are caused from fatigue. So when they do the causal factors for most mishaps, they always go back and find that the pilot or the crew chief or somebody in the chain was tired. I've seen guys with a 24-ounce monster in their hand and falling asleep at the same time at 7:30 in the morning.
If you're not 100% focused on the task at hand, there's 100 ways you can die, or somebody else is going to die because of your negligence. And so you're constantly locked in, but it's very hard to just give all that up. It's so ingrained in our DNA at this point.
It's called circadian scarring. You come out of the military thinking that you can live on 4 hours of sleep because that's just what you do in the military. But science is showing us that that's not healthy. It can lead to all types of issues, both health, mental health, and physical health.
At least 4 or 5 years after I got out, really terrible sleep patterns, almost to the point where my body would just fall asleep from exhaustion.
Like for me personally, I find it really a challenge to fall asleep because you lay down in bed and then you start replaying all the things that happened that day.
For those of us on ships, you're off your shift, you go to bed, and an alarm sounds. If you're a heavy sleeper and you don't hear that alarm, that could mean the difference between life and death. Do this for 30 years, and end result when you retire, like I did, is that I wake up 4 or 5 times in the middle of the night, tossing and turning, try to fall asleep, find a good position.
It's really a challenge for most people in our community to clear your mind and focus on the sleep.
I mean, I personally have been to the VA, for a number of times, asking for answers on why this is happening to me. Having them, throw pills at you, and never once did anybody say, how are you sleeping?
this 6-week program, we're not only going to give them the rest node to help them establish those behavioral routines. By the end of the 6 weeks, we hope that they will all have better sleep and have lasting effects that last months and years after we are done with the program.
You know, with this study, I really want to be able to have my, you know, all that mass in between my ears kind of free and clear of thoughts or anything else, and just be able to hit the pillow and fall asleep.
It would be a great thing if I could sleep through the night.
You know, those habits are very strong when they're developed in training environments like that, and so you need something even stronger to kind of overwrite those. And so that's definitely my number one goal.
The potential that it has is to change the landscape of PTSD without the use of drugs.
The 6-2R starts off really easy, but I can tell you that there's some incredible individuals on this call, and the one thing that we all have in common is we're trying to get to better sleep. But then we very quickly get into behavioral modification. We get into how light, sound, and temperature impact your sleep. At nighttime, that melatonin production begins. We want to keep all of the blue lights, we keep work and emails out of the bedroom so that melatonin can begin producing and we have a natural sleep cycle. Light, we know, impacts our circadian rhythms in a huge way. And so what we're doing with the rest node is we provide an amber light that doesn't have that frequency. So if you're able to put away the phones and put up the electronic devices, you can now use the rest node to get that safe, bio-friendly light before you go to bed.
Now, it gave me an hour of, no blue light with relaxing noise in the background.
With the amber light, it's kind of smooth and gradual, and it turns itself off. So you don't even notice when it actually goes full dark in the room. You're already probably asleep by that time. That's what I found in the last few weeks.
So it really facilitated getting into the mood, if you will, for sleep.
And then in the morning, you have a daytime light that slowly fades on, and you can have sounds like birds chirping or whatever you like to wake up to.
I run a lot. Some days I wake up and I just didn't want to run, and that hasn't been the case in the last few weeks. I wake up, I feel energized.
I'm getting out of bed quicker. I have a lot more time in the morning to spend with family.
I know that a piece of technology is not going to solve everybody's sleep problems. We have to have that human element. And that's the beautiful thing about 6-2R is we're integrating the coaches and the guided meditation experts.
I'm a former Air Force combat camera person. I served from 89 till 94. Let's be real, a lot of eye roll happens when we talk to veterans about meditation and yoga. We dip into what's called paradoxical sleep state during this practice. You go into the theta delta, the slow wave sleep, and they found that about 20 minutes of this practice is worth almost 2 hours of REM sleep. Meditation, even for a little bit every day, can start to shrink the amygdala, which is our fear center, which is what is enlarged when we have a traumatic event.
It just relaxes every single part of your body, something I've never felt before.
You know, it's one thing to say, if you meditate or breathe, 10, 15 minutes every day, it's going to have all these great effects. Okay, cool. But actually doing it, particularly before bed, and as I'm winding down for the day, man, it made a tremendous impact, and it's, okay, cool. This is something I need to do.
So we thought the best way to do sleep measurements is with a ballisticardiogram, which is an extremely accurate sensor that goes under the bed, and it passively measures your sleep. It can tell you if you have sleep apneas. It can tell you when you had awakenings. It can tell you what stage of sleep you're in.
There was data points that we got to track, throughout the lifespan of the 6-2R program, and that I found really insightful because I could take the tools that were given to me, try to incorporate them into my routine, and see how that impacted my sleep.
I have improved significantly. I'm getting more REM sleep and more deep sleep than I was in the beginning of this program. And I'm waking up a little bit smoother now.
Sitting in that room with that rest node, focused on breathing or stretching or just, clearing my head for the day, yeah, it really made a huge impact, because then when it was time for bed, I'd just walk over to the bedroom, lay down, and I'd be zonked out pretty quickly.
So when I knew I got a good night's sleep, it was a feeling I hadn't felt in a long time.
You could look throughout all of the data, REM, deep, and light sleep. They all seem to be a little bit better.
One of the biggest gains that I've noticed from having restful sleep is just not needing to reach for the caffeine as often, if ever now.
I think that's one of the big takeaways from this is I'm in control of the things that I do. I don't have to follow the same habits I had before. I can change my habits to be able to get better sleep.
I think the rest node could have profound impact for veterans' mental health.
Vets with PTSD or TBI, or just a career of excess cortisol flowing through your veins, arguably more so than any other demographic in this country. I think getting quality sleep is absolutely should be forefront. It's critical.
It's been a struggle for me, ever since leaving the military. I've struggled with depression, anxiety. I wish I would have known, how much sleep was playing a role. I just really wish somebody would have shared that with me, a long time ago.
So the rest node and the 6-2R program are the first piece of a larger puzzle. And that puzzle is this entire sleep deprivation epidemic. We hope to gather the data and show that to concerned organizations that can potentially get us funding or exposure, and really expand this program to start serving more veterans.
I really hope that the VA and the Department of Defense, I really hope that they start to take a closer look at how sleep is affecting veterans and troops. And I think that Rob's, rest node and the 6-2R program could be a very important piece.
We want to make a huge impact on veteran health across the board. I can't save Ryan, but maybe I can save people like him.
Okay, that was amazing. That was amazing. Congratulations, guys. That was amazing.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate the kind words I'm seeing in the chat. That's awesome.
Rob, what did that mean to you to this moment?
Well, I never like looking at myself on video, but thought it was awesome. I thought we communicated what we were doing. I don't understand how TJ puts together all the spaghetti to make it work. But it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, TJ, I got to applaud you. And I hope that the audience, has any idea the talent and work that goes into that, everything, the graphics animations, the 3D photo effect. I have some experience in this world of video editing. That stuff's incredibly complex to make it look so professional and flow so well and keep the attention up. And there was one thing that I found so striking. I had this grin on my face when it was happening. Were the line graphs of time spent in deep sleep increasing over the 6 weeks and time to fall asleep decreasing over the 6 weeks. Wow. That tells a story right there. When you were saying, Rob, about holding your breath for the 6 weeks, I almost cried from seeing that for you, because I can only imagine it's like waiting for your, I don't know how to make this relatable to people. It's like waiting for your ASVAB score results or something like that, and your future is going to be determined by it, and you open up the envelope and it's good news, and that's just incredible. I'm so happy for you. This is amazing. This is amazing. It's so great.
Thank you.
This is so cool. And yeah, TJ, excellent job. You're getting many kudos in the chat. It's and is this video, can people go find this and share this? When can people go watch this for themselves, and where?
Yes. So there is a link that anyone can watch and anyone can share, and it's on Vimeo. And Max, maybe you can advise on what the best. Should I just put it into the chat?
Sure. Yeah, put it into the chat.
So I'll do that right now. But we would all greatly appreciate if anyone was interested in this or was moved by it in some way, if you could share it to if you happen to know anyone who would maybe benefit from this technology, or if you just kind of want to share it to your network at large. I can speak to this from my experience working with a whole bunch of startups over my career. This phase of kind of word of mouth and grassroots and just kind of sharing with people who you trust and who trust you, those are really the make or break things for startups, in my experience, is that phase of just kind of activating the people that are within arm's reach. And that's what this community is here, I feel. So we'd appreciate that.
Awesome. Yes, please, from me, to go watch this video and share it and leave positive feedback if you deem it worthy, and I hope that you do. I certainly do myself, and I will be doing that. Rob, maybe, there's a lot of people watching right now, to put it frankly, the most we've ever had by a lot. And I want to thank everybody for being in the audience, but maybe, we've talked about this many times. Maybe if you could talk to the audience really quick about Ryan Larkin and the story, and for anybody who tuned in since we started this episode, or who's never maybe heard this from you before, if you could just share a little bit. It's Veterans Day in honor of those who've served, and we all know people who've struggled. We all know people who've been there, or have taken their own lives tragically. It really is a tragedy. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to talk directly to the viewers that if they want to follow more of what we're doing, they can go to restnode.org. And if you want to reach out to me directly, it's rob@existtribe.com. Even if it's just you and you're feeling like nobody loves you in the world, or maybe today's the last day, that kind of thing, I'm always here. But for Ryan, I watched. He was one of my older guys when I was a new guy, and I arrived at SEAL Team 7. And so I watched him. He's a medic, he's a sniper, which basically means he's a badass. Like, those are the two most legit, skills you can have. There's a series of skills that you can go to the schools and stuff as a SEAL. And, his dad, Frank, was a SEAL, and he's just got this legacy. And so he's my older guy, and he's kind of bringing me up. And so I look up to him. But then what I saw, and now that my eyes have kind of been opened up, I saw this happening with other folks too, is this series of, deployments that can lead to, potential stress, recurring stress, whether we want to call that PTS or whatever. And then, all of us had blast exposure, definitely some TBI, BTBI. And so what I saw was this, sort of things started to spiral. And, I'm watching probably, more alcohol consumption. The Navy's giving out the Ambien pills like crazy. The deal when you're on the rotator flight on deployment, it's like it's like Halloween. So then, using these sedatives to go to sleep is never good. And then using these stimulants in the morning to wake up after you've had terrible sleep is not good. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. That's just what you do, right? You slamming monsters, like Blake said in the documentary, slamming monsters at 7:30 in the morning, falling asleep, because you just show up. You show up to muster. You show up to whatever. You just do your job. But things really started to spiral out of control. And I noticed that Ryan didn't have the support that he needed. And, that's a bust on all of us, all the way up the chain of command. We could have done a better job. And so the result of, his journey ended up in suicide. And he was awake for 5 days leading up to that. I'm quite sure I wasn't there, but I'm quite sure that led to this sort of psychosis, this sort of like going further down the rabbit hole of like insanity that would lead you to do something like this. And sleep is just so closely tied to that. And I believe that very strongly. I'm not saying that's the only contributing factor. We'll never know we'll never be able to unpack that. Frank's dad did a great job at sort of going down the path with TBI with Dr. Pearl and doing the fMRI and the diffuser imaging technology to sort of detect the damage done by blast exposure. But at the end of the day, my mission here is to focus, razor focus, tip of the spear on sleep. And I've been doing this for 4 years. I've basically gone broke doing this. I'm like, at times begging for help to get to the next stage. And like I said before, just falling flat on my face over and over and over. So my hope is, now that, we're at this point where we have some data that we can share this documentary on a wide scale and get the message out to the veterans that need it, number one. But then number two, what I found, like talking with Semper Fi Fund and the director of nursing over there and their entire nursing staff, they're so excited about what we're doing because when we talk about this, they're like, oh yeah, we deal with this every day. We deal with this all day. Veteran sleep is an issue in marriages, in, everything across the board. And so when I talk to the caregiver, the clinician or the provider that's dealing with the person who is struggling with sleep every single day, those people know the problem and perhaps their hands are a bit tied because there's no tools. Well, now we have a tool. Now we have something that works. So, I'm leaning on all these organizations to jump on board and help me get this thing out to the veterans that need it, as well as, we're working with a couple of universities in the talks right now so that we can potentially do a larger study, adding more controls, really refining it, adding that blind, potentially double blind in the future, to where we can get down to the exact nuances of everything that we're doing and how those individual things impact sleep. But what we know is that it works. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. You don't see this kind of improvement ever. So I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier.
That's great. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that info about where people can find you. And just to reiterate that, it's restnode.org and rob@existtribe.com if you guys want to reach out. TJ, where can people find out more about you? I'm sure people are going to want to know now.
Well, yeah. So after you visit restnode.org and after you message Rob at rob@existtribe.com, if you want to watch some comedic work that will hopefully make you smile, you can go to tjmisney.com. But you can only go there after you visit restnode.org. You have to promise me that that's the first thing you'll do.
All right.
And then as a treat, you can watch some funny short films at tjmisney.com.
The conditions have been set. TJ, we have to collab soon. We have to do a collaborative project soon, I think.
Would love to. We definitely have to talk. I feel a bit ashamed that you are dominating the cinematography game on this chat.
No,
much better lighting setup, much better camera, much better mic. So you're I can learn a lot.
No, I think your work, it speaks for itself without any question. The one thing, just really quick, shameless plug. I just want to let you guys know before we start wrapping the show up that I am having a Veterans Day sale on scuttlebuttshow.com of all of our merch, 10% off until Monday. If you guys are interested and you're here because of our great guests today, I just would like to ask you to please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like button, and check out the links in the description. If you like military content, if you want to know what's happening in the military, please stick around and enjoy more of the Scuttlebutt Show. And like I said, all clothing, every piece of merchandise on scuttlebutt.show.com is 10% off until Monday. Go check it out. We have great stuff over there. And I would love to hear from you too. So you can reach out to me at the scuttlebuttshow@gmail.com, leave a comment on this video, and please like and share as we try to grow the channel and get more exposure for great people like Rob and TJ and the veteran community and all of that. This has been and emotional for me. I'm sure for you guys, I'm sure for the audience journey. At this point, people watching the Scuttlebutt show have been listening to you, Rob, for years. And we've all kind of been going through this together. And this is great. This is really awesome. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. And I just want to say, you know, get ready to have your minds blown. If you look over Rob's shoulder on the right side of your screen, what's that on the wall? Is that a rest node right there? Right in front of your eyes this entire time? A rest node in action. It looks like art on the wall as well. So I just can't wait to get mine. I'm really excited for that. And as the production continues, the production process, and we can start getting rest nodes in our hands, that I can't wait. This is just so cool. It must be a cool moment for you, Rob. I'd like to just give you the floor to say whatever you want to the audience out there about anything on Veterans Day here.
Yeah, well, we're going to production. So we're waiting on a couple of components that we can only get from China, supply chain issues, but we're building it. This is happening. I think we're going to launch an Indiegogo here pretty soon, but you can go to, therestnode.org and actually put in your order if you want to pre-order one. I'm getting some custom housings made out of wood to see if we can do hardwood and make it really just a designer artistic piece that goes in the house, because we know that things that I put in the house, my wife might not like, so we want it to be aesthetically pleasing, because we've been focusing mostly on the function of the device, which we know works now. So yeah, people can go on there. They can put in their email and get updates on our email newsletter, but they can also pre-order it right now.
Amazing. TJ, I'd like to give you a moment too, if there's anything you'd like to say to the audience before we wrap up.
Yeah. Well, I just want to reiterate that it was an honor to work on this project. It was an honor to have these conversations. I mean, everyone that was on camera in that piece served. I think the combined number of years of service of everyone in that piece is like maybe 80 or so, maybe it's 90, something like that. And just to sort of think about that, for me to step back and think about that, it's staggering. And some of the statistics that I found and put in this piece are, it boggles the mind, the scope of the issue that Rob is trying to solve, and that all of us here are aware of and or maybe have experienced. So for me to be involved in this, it's been an honor, and I really appreciate everyone tuning in and for the kind words. And I guess final thought is, if anyone is able to share the piece with their networks, it really would make a big difference. This is a thing that I've observed in like the film business, but also in the startup culture. Momentum is the name of the game. People respond to momentum. People respond to numbers. So the idea of, having this be seen and having people be talking about it, that really does make a difference when, Rob has a mailing list and a sort of a hit list of all of these people he's reaching out to try to get action, try to get results. And when they see numbers, that means something to them. So, it's a kind of a YouTube cliche to say, like and subscribe, don't forget to smash that like button, all those things that people say, but it does make a difference.
Absolutely. So yes, please go do that. It would mean a lot to me and everybody. And I hope everybody understands the accomplishment that this is and how great those people that were featured on that video were. These are, great veterans, patriots, Americans, people who've given so much. And now hopefully, they're getting something back, getting help with sleep. And this whole project will hopefully, like you said, Rob, it has the opportunity to save lives and change lives and make people happier. And that's, at the end of the day, all we're all trying to be is happy, whatever that means to us. That's all the best we can hope for. It's not riches or fame or anything. It's just happiness, and to be able to look in the mirror and feel like you lived a life of honor and integrity, and and be happy with how things turned out. And if getting better sleep helps with that, which of course it does, then anything that anybody can do to make that more possible for people is an incredible mission to take on. So thank you. Happy Veterans Day. Thanks to everyone for spending Veterans Day this evening with us. Amazing. I'm just so thankful to be joined by this great audience today as well, who came here to see this. The Scuttlebutt Show is live at 1800 Pacific Standard Time, Sunday through Thursday. I'm coming at you live from Okinawa, Japan, so I'll be back Sunday with another great episode of the show. I look forward to seeing you all there. Rob, anything else before we go?
Thanks, Max.
Thank you. TJ, anything else before we go?
Thank you, Max. Happy Veterans Day, everyone. Thank you for your service.
Thank you,
Happy
TJ.
Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. With all that being said, wow, this has just been amazing. Thank you all. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, TJ. Thank you to the audience. And until next time, that's the Scuttlebutt.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.